The following documentary deals with issues of child abuse, substance abuse, and sexual violence. Viewer discretion is advised.
When he got exposed and everything came out that it was true what was happening, it just completely shattered my whole life. Anything that I was holding on to, the faith, was gone. That instant, done, dead. Don't want to look back. The institution is evil.
Welcome to Rough Cut Diaries. Please state your full name for us.
Adrian Ramirez.
What was your childhood like?
I want to say I had a pretty good childhood. You know, growing up, my mother always was a stay-home mom. My father was he had his own business at that time. He cut hair. Religion was first in our family, such as we were involved in church almost 80 to 90% of the week. We would go to retreats, we would go to youth groups, and so we always had something to do with the church.
There was a priest who became a very close friend of the family. What kind of role did he play in your home?
Super nice priest. We're talking about, he was involved in my childhood, you know, such as when my parents would have events, I would go there and he would invite me in and give me a meal or give me some money so I could go buy something or whatever, you know, but he was always present and he always gave me good advice. So when I met my wife, I just didn't want just any regular priest marrying us. You know, I was like, no, I want somebody who I could trust. Through the years, I get a phone call that the priest that married us was being accused of molesting a few kids. When he got exposed and everything came out that it was true what was happening, it just completely shattered my whole life. Anything that I was holding on to, the faith, was gone. That instant, done. Like that part of my life, it was almost like a metaphor, like dead. Like, don't want to look back. The institution is evil. So that's what really made me go over the edge and really had a hard time.
Take us back to when you first sensed something wasn't right. What happened in the very beginning when you were just a young boy at the age of
10, 11 or so. But to put myself back to that place, it's scary. It's very scary. All this stuff is happening to you that's not supposed to be happening to you. These are people who are supposed to be mentors, supposed to be a voice, you know, to help, to protect you. This is not supposed to be happening. Full-blown rape, sodomy, or copulation. Him on me on him. Is this supposed to be happening at church? Is this normal? And then to come out and pretend nothing happened. I remember once I threw my underwears away. I was bleeding. Never said anything. Who are they going to believe? You know, somebody who's preaching the word of God versus a kid. It was very hard for me to understand what was really happening. Because at the same time, he's making you feel good, buying you gifts. He's the one who taught me how to drive. He introduced me to drugs, alcohol. I was younger. I was underage. I needed a fix. I needed a, that way I don't go through the withdrawals. It was almost like I know what I have to do to get what I need. And that's what's really hard. It was really hard for me to forgive myself for that.
How does someone in a position of trust like that actually convince an 11-year-old boy that what he is doing to them is okay?
It doesn't, there's almost like no permission. There's no conversation. There's no like, hey, you know what? It's not like a boyfriend and girlfriend type conversation, if that makes sense. It almost seems like he's testing the waters, like, let me touch his leg, you know, let me get close to him, let me hug. Now I know what it is. It's grooming. He's getting me used to his pattern, I guess, of him constantly touching me. So when it starts, I guess you could say, graduating from just the leg, now I'm gonna go up a little higher. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. It almost seems, because I'm so used to it, that he's like constantly has his hands on me. I'm not questioning it. I'm not even bothered by it, because in my mind, that's who he is. He's a touchy person, but he hasn't crossed those boundaries yet. You know, where he's putting his hands under your clothes or putting your hands on your buttocks, or anything like that. He hasn't crossed those boundaries, you know. And I still remember the first day that it happened. Like if it was yesterday. We're both asleep and he is on my penis. He is massaging my penis. He is going down on my penis. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm just frozen. He does what he needs to do. And he turns around and goes straight to sleep again. Like nothing happened. I'm up all night trying to figure out what the hell did just happen. You know, I don't think a pedophile never asks for permission. They just do what they got to do, and that's it. That was the beginning of a journey that really, the starting of that journey that really messed up my life for a long time. There was never a sense of violence. It was almost like an unspoken secret that something just happened, but nobody needs to know. he wasn't. It's crazy how I want to say this, but he wasn't an evil person. He, when he wasn't doing this to me, it was like hanging out with one of the guys. You know, we would go hang out, watch a movie, go to the park, go have fun, theme parks, and all that stuff. You know, so I guess that was his way of buying my silence. They condition you. If you do anything or if you say anything, all these other stuff stop. And I'm like, shit, I really don't want the other stuff to stop because it's fun. Who doesn't want to go to a theme park? Who doesn't want to go to the beach? Who doesn't want to do all these fun stuff? At the same time, I'm like, if I say something, are they going to believe me? Because my parents always held, until this day, they still hold people of the cloth in a high position. Church for them was always first. Then we were second. That's how we grew up. Some days were nightmares, and some days were Fantasyland, like Disneyland. It was great. It was great. And some days were you wish that night could just end.
What did he say to you in one of those moments?
Just imagine God is touching you. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just imagine God is touching you. The only image that I could get from that moment, I don't know if you ever seen, there's a picture or a statue of God, and he's almost like surrounded like with little kids, you know, but they look happy, they look fun, it looks innocent. This doesn't feel innocent, you know. And I remember me digging in my brain and my memory at that time, trying to see one of the kids in that image. Is there a kid that's positioned like me at that moment? Because I don't see it. I'm scared. I'm shocked. I'm like, hurry up, get done so I could get out of here. Is this happening? Is this what God wants? Is this okay? Maybe it is. I don't know.
Looking back now, how did carrying that silence shape the rest of your life?
My grades started declining. That was first, you know. I remember getting into trouble at school, um, not caring. You know, it almost felt like the best way I could describe it, like a zombie, like just existing, or just, I felt like a robot. I've dropped out of school, seventh grade. I remember the first semester, seventh grade. I just decided not to go back. You know, I remember by then I was already dabbling in some drugs that he was giving me. Um, Drugs made, there was my escape. It was my, I was able to escape. I was able to stay numb for a long time. And I stayed numb for a long time, for years. You know, the noise, I call it noise that's in your head. And for me, I was diagnosed a long time ago with PTSD. It's almost like I have a videotape in my head where I'm constantly seeing images. They're constantly there. You cannot shoo them away. You can't shut it off. There's nothing you could do. The only thing that really helped it at that time was drugs, alcohol. It didn't take care of it completely, but it quieted down the noise. It quieted down the images. It quieted down the pain. I shouldn't be here doing this interview with you. I should be dead. Life has a crazy or funny or twisted way of showing you your purpose. It's just a matter of how much do you want to hold on to it and try to figure out that purpose. Because I could have easily outed myself a long time ago. And I have tried several times to myself at the age of 12, 13 years old. And then again, when I was about 17 years old, I don't know why. Now I do know why, but back then I didn't know why. How come it didn't work? I remember thinking to myself and getting mad, like, why? Why did I wake up? Or why did it break? I just wanted to be done with this misery. But the universe, that's what I call it now, has a funny way of just making you hold on a little bit more to figure out your purpose in life. And there was a lot of bad there that I had to accept. And that was a very hard pill for me to swallow. Because I was so angry at the system, at the institution, angry at my parents of how involved they are. And sometimes walking this journey by myself, the journey of healing, and not having the people who really should be a support or just a shoulder or just an ear to listen to.
What moment or what person sparked a change in your life? When did your healing finally begin?
That's a hard one because God, you're going deep. Talking about honesty, huh? Here we go. In a weird, messed up way, she was my saving grace. But the journey that I put her through, she did not deserve that. What they used to tell me, what is your biggest regret? What I put my wife through. I don't know how or what she's still doing here. Any other person should have left a long time ago. She was my punching bag. Everything what happened to me as a kid, I was unloading on her. All of the anger, the trust, the betrayals. She took she took the brunt of it. Hopefully, she could see me for a different person now. Not that person that was hurting or that was just angry. I remember I was talking to my sister and to my brother at that time, and they wanted to organize a camping trip. Sure, I want to be part of it. I want to go. I like going camping. I like all that stuff. And so that's when everybody found out. My nieces, nephew, brother, my sister, um, eventually tells me, you need to tell mom and dad. And I'm like, no, how are they gonna believe me or what? You know, it's like you still need to tell dad. And so I remember calling my father that night, letting him know before I had said anything. He says, was a Sam. And I lost it. I my mind is just it's going crazy. My dad told me and everybody else was in the room that Sam had either kind of like a confession or whatever, or just told my father, I find young kids attractive. And I'm like, what did you do? Or oh, since when? Because if you knew for a long time or whatever, you could have done something about it back then. I asked him, I go, what did you tell him? To pray about it. Even then, when I was having that conversation with my father, my thinking was like, you didn't get the hint, the register, or something, you know, to keep a close watch on this guy or to tell somebody else, or do something about it, but just to pray about it, it's like, this guy's not sick. You pray for somebody who's sick. This is somebody who's clearly a wolf in sheep clothing, and so that started another journey of being angry at my parents, because one, how involved they are in church. You guys are cowards. You guys rather protect the institution than your own family. I cannot stay quiet no more. Wherever this journey is going to take me now, what's the worst that could happen? I already went through it. I just said, fuck it. I'm gonna go to the authorities. I'm gonna make a police report and tell my truth. And that's what I did the very next day that I had that conversation with my father. And so I went to the police station and found out my statute of limitations had ran out, and they explained to me exactly what that was, and I'm like, I don't want to waste your time. I'm not able to do anything. What am I doing? But I still knew that Sam had some kind of a role in the church, but he was also working. He was really involved in the Catholic schools. I told my wife, I'm just going to go to any fucking Catholic church that has a school attached to it and try to see if I could talk to the principal or somebody who's there. And maybe they could direct me somewhere that I could go and report this. The conversation happened, it was maybe 10 minutes. And then the lady, I don't remember who exactly I talked to that very first time, but I remember she's telling me, do you have time? And I go, yeah, I have time. He goes, I need to call somebody. And so at this point, I don't know nothing about the law or suing. This is how fucked up this thing is. I thought I was the only person that was sexually abused by a clergyman or by somebody in that nature, I don't know nothing about there's other survivors or anything like that. So it's almost like I felt isolated. I felt lonely. I felt I'm the only one. I told my report. 3 weeks later, Sam gets arrested. Sister Sheila calls me. She goes, we got him. We arrested him. And we found others. And I'm like, he was doing this to other people? He goes, yeah. He goes, we arrested him. And I'm like, awesome, cool. So now what? He goes, well, we can't do nothing for you because the statute of limitations have run out. But for the other victim, he's still within statute. So you could actually help him to corroborate that to establish that it's been happening for a while. And also to corroborate what this kid is saying. My wife finds this attorney, Tony, and asked me, like, hey, have you ever thought about possibly maybe talking to an attorney, maybe to see what are your options? There was a window that was open that allows victims, no matter how old the case was, to come forward. I didn't know that. And so I just came in just in time. I think I had less than a year to do something. So I remember Sister Sheila calling me a few times and offering me a great amount of money. And I was like, for what? You know, he goes, well, for what you went through. It's our way to try to make this right for you. And I was like, no, I don't need it. You know, it's like, it doesn't feel right. These were healthy amounts. There was 3 offers put out there. The last one was like, shit. I go, this could potentially secure some future. When I said finally yes, she goes, okay, come down. We're gonna fly you down with you and your family and all that stuff. Okay, sure. He goes, and we'll make sure we have a check ready for you. And I'm like, that fucking fast? He goes, yeah. I thought I was only gonna go for the check. And then she comes out, pulls out another stack of papers. She goes, sign here. And I remember seeing like words in the papers, and I'm like, what am I signing exactly? You know, they were being very vague, and I'm like, I go, the way I'm reading it, the way it's mentioned here, it's like, I can't talk about it. Why can I talk about it? They go, if you do talk about it, we could come after you for slander or to get that money back. It's better just stay quiet. You'll be fine with this money. And I'm like, why would I want to stay quiet when I stood quiet almost my whole life? This happened to me. And now you're telling me that I cannot talk about it, to sweep it under the rug? I think I'm on the wrong side of the tracks right now. I am not. You could give me $1 million, which was almost that close. To me, to never talk about it or to deny what happened to me, it's not worth any kind of amount of money. I walked away. For survivors or for anybody who has gone through any kind of severe trauma, to bring up something that's so hurtful or that's so painful, it's not an easy journey, you know, because each time we talk about it, it's a journey. It's a whole new, we know the feelings are so familiar, but the pain is still there. So we went through the whole litigation, got awarded, we won, and come to find out that I wasn't the only one. There was many, and tons more victims. We're in the hundreds. So the attorney who I work for now, we stayed good friends. We would check in on each other every now and then, or we would go out and grab lunch or whatever. We just stayed friends. And every time I'll ask him, like, if there's anything, anything that you need help, and I'm here. And then I remember I would come home and I'll be like, why would I say that? I'm a 7th grade dropout. I don't know shit about the legal system. And here I am asking him for something, And then eventually, through the years, he's like, hey, I want you to come into the office and I want to offer you a job. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I want to offer you a job. I remember it took me a long time to say yes. We're not talking a couple weeks. We're talking a few months. I call him and I'm like, is the offer still open? He goes, we've been waiting. Once I started getting familiar and used to it, my level of confidence started going up. I started believing in myself. I started a spark just happened. Didn't understand what it was, but it was like, it felt like I belonged. And now 14, 15 years later, still working there, still doing the good work. There are some cases that are a little bit more challenging than others that hit home. It feels good to meet new folks, but also when they're in that place of so fragile that they cannot trust anybody. I am the only person that they could trust.
If there's someone watching this interview right now, someone who has felt silenced, who is scared, or who is carrying their own childhood trauma just like you did, what would your message be to them today?
It's my way of thinking. It's almost like we're kind of abusing that little kid ourselves by putting them back in the corner and by telling them, be quiet, don't talk. It's easier that way. To find the courage to let that little kid come back in your life, to come forward and let that little kid start talking. And how could you help that little kid?
When you look back on your journey from that little boy to a broken teenager to the man sitting here today, what are you most proud of?
My kids. My biggest fear was, are they going to end up like me? They're not. They're not me. Proud that I'm able to talk about it now. I'm not scared to go down that road. I'm proud that I'm able to see my parents without the hatred. Proud that I was able to separate the two. Parents and religion. Two different things. But proud of life.